Hello and welcome. This is my presentation for my final year project. It's for the Open University Computing and IT degree. My name is Fred de Laszlo and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Well, I get straight to it. What is it? It is an audio filter. It's for devices, PCs, mobile phones, that kind of thing. It's aimed at people, primarily at people who have some sort of hearing loss. It's designed to enable good quality hearing of speech, music, and even gaming. If you can't hear the footsteps behind you, this could probably help. It might even help. So why am I doing this? Well, there are several reasons. I should point out that this project began historically. When I started this project, it was very personal because I am one of these people who was born with a hearing loss. I hear less than 50% of what the average person hears, and in higher frequencies is woeful, it's quite severe. I also have come across a number of people who have, to a lesser or greater extent, similar problems. And my father, for example, my late father, he had tremendous problems. And because when I was doing the research for the project, I came across the fact that the UK Health Security Agency is predicting that by 2031, 1 in 5 people will have some sort of hearing problem. Now, that's a huge statistic. It's 20% of the UK population, and it's not that far off. So one of the other reasons, quite a major reason actually, is if you do have a hearing problem, you'll invariably end up in an audiologist. They stick you in a soundproof booth, ask you whether you can hear various tones at various volumes, and based on the result, we'll give you a pair of hearing aids. Out you would go out the door, happy as Larry, because now you can mostly hear what people are talking. You can have a conversation, which is great, but it's designed for speech only. And what I mean by this is that the average human auditory range starts at about 20 Hz, which is very, very low, think bass, up to a 20 kilohertz or even higher, which is very, very high. And the hearing aids only go from about 125 Hz to 8 kilohertz because quite naturally it's based on speech. They want to be able to have a conversation. It doesn't really work for things like music or going to the cinema or on your device listening to music or watching some video and so forth. And you can't really stick a pair of headphones on top of the hearing aids. It sounds truly awful. You don't have to believe me, it is so. So this is why I'm doing this. I also should point out that hearing loss has been linked to depression, anxiety, stress, particularly in the older population, and has also been linked to the earlier onset of dementia. So anything we can do at this stage to alleviate is a good thing, and I hope with this can help. So that's why I'm doing it. So let's go ahead and have a look. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn off the webcam so you're not distracted. So here we have the landing page. As I do a refresh, because I want to show you this. Here you have your standard message telling you about cookies. Well, it does say that it's using essential cookies. It's not actually. It's not using any cookies. It's only there because if you sign in, it's using tokens which is held in memory. If you recall, cookies are small files that the browser places on your system. This doesn't do any of that. It's all held in memory. If you navigate away, it's gone. It's very important, particularly for medical information. And talking of medical information, in the privacy policy, it'll tell you your rights under the GDPR data protection rights, which health and data comes under. So you can object to processing, restrict, erase, change, access, and all the rest of this. Now, the idea is that if you do one profile for one pair of headsets, you can use that same profile on different devices, and of course that means it has to be saved on a server somewhere, and that's where you can sign up and log in, save the profiles and delete them as necessary, and so forth. Very important is the disclaimer. Disclaimer basically says that this web application is not giving medical advice. It should be treated as educational, informative, and if you do find something out, then you should go and see a professional consultant, or the audiologist. So there we are. We also have the frequently asked questions, where you go browse through, contact page, and so forth. And you've got the terms and conditions as well, governing law and jurisdiction. So let's start the test. So we click on start. It immediately tells you it's under development. This is the first version. Still a few bugs here and there. If you play around with it, I'm sure you'll come across them. But you will get results. The results may not be entirely accurate depending on what you have. If this test shows you may have a hearing condition, you should consult a professional. If you're at all worried about this application, you should just stop and consult a professional. It also tells you that the browser you're using appears to have everything necessary to perform the tests and so forth. And I should say, I have tried this in Firefox, which is running now, Chrome, Microsoft Edge. I've used on my mobile, Chrome and Firefox. It all seems to be working. Safari should work. I don't have any Apple devices, but the documentation seems to indicate it is compatible. Very important, if you haven't signed up and accepted terms and conditions, you must do so now. For continuing, we do that. First thing first, you should be in a quiet location, have a pair of headphones, ready to begin the test, and you should set any volumes up to maximum, because here on after the application will control the volume. And if you're able to, you can turn off equalize and 3D spatial sound. The test will work, but the results may not be quite what you expect. So we click on that. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to get my headphones. Right, now I've got my headphones. I'm just going to change the microphone over, if you bear with me 1 second. Turn off. There we are. You should be hearing me again. There we are. I'm using my headphones now, so I'm ready to begin. Just going to turn off the webcam. There we go. Click next. Now here we have to calibrate the system somehow. Remember I told you, when you go and visit an audiologist, you would invariably sit in a booth, wear a pair of headphones, and so on. Everything in that scenario has been calibrated. The particular parameters of the headphones are known, the system is known, the software is known, the end results will be going into a hearing aid where all the various parameters are known. They're all calibrated together. Well, here, in this application, what's the best way to put this? We have none of that. I'm not joking, we have absolutely zero knowledge about your headphones, your system, how loud it goes, all of that we have no idea. So we have to have some way of calibrating the system so we have some idea of what to expect. Now originally what we did, I did have a system which is used quite widely on other sites. I'd like to point out that whilst other sites have hearing tests, I haven't come across one that shows you before and after, which was what I'm doing here. On quite a popular way of doing it, what you did, you listened to a recording of somebody rubbing their hands together quite briskly. It's recorded a particular volume. So you listened to it, and then what you did, you got your hands and you rubbed them briskly in front of your nose, and you match the volume to what you hear. And done properly, it is quite accurate. It comes out about 65 decibels, so you could tell somewhere on the volume scale where 65 decibels was. Once you knew that, then you could scale everything later on. Well, I tried it, it worked, and then I got my wife to try it. So she sat down, got to this page, thought about it a minute, and went, "Nope, not doing this, it's silly," and walked away. Well, that's the first hurdle she didn't get past. When you think about it, as I did a bit more research, it turns out that it's a bit hit and miss, because if you have some mobility problems, may not be able to rub your hands properly, may not be able to rub them hard enough, which is a requirement. If you use hand moisturizers, that will change it. If you have one hand, well, you can't, and so forth. So it was a bit of a problem, so I had to remove that until I come up with another situation. I will show you why a bit later, but as it turns out, the fundamental piece of information that this application actually needs is your volume. What volume do you perceive naturally as to be a good volume for you to hear? Let's turn off the webcam again. Oh, wrong one. So there we go. So here we have a volume slider, and it's asking you to set the volume to a comfortable level. The sound it's using is called pink noise. It's called pink noise. It's like static, but the sound you'll hear is more lower end of the scale centric. So it doesn't quite hurt your ears as much, and also that's because where all the bass frequencies for speech and so forth are centered. So I'll just demonstrate. Turn the volume. You should be able to start hearing white noise. I'll bring it back down there for now. On my system, 65 decibels is roughly around there. But we're not interested in that. What we're interested in, because if you think about it, in hearing aids, it's all calibrated for a particular level of sound. But the moment you put on a pair of headphones and you're listening to music, if it's too quiet, what is the first thing you are going to do? You are going to turn up the volume, aren't you? And this is what we're asking. So you turn up the volume to a sound where you feel comfortable with. Now, it may feel a bit the sound may be a bit loud for you listening to this. For me, it's fairly quiet. So I'm just very quickly going to put it up to the level that I'm quite happy with. About there. Okay, done. Now what that does, in actual fact, is it limits, that is the maximum volume you've told the application that you want any sound to occur. So in the next test, it explains what's going on, because the next page is quite full, so there's less room to put these instructions. And in actual fact, if I'm just going to turn off desktop audio, go back. So here, I've had a few people who tried it who said they're happy with a volume somewhere down here. It was quite ridiculously low, and it caught them out because that's the maximum volume that is allowed you in the tests. And they consequently discovered, well, they appear to have a hearing loss. No, it's because the volume is too low. So you need to turn it up. There we go. I'm just going to turn on desktop audio again so you can hear the test. So we're going to go into the test page, and here you have the audiogram chart. It's a standard chart where you can see it going from -10 at the top down to 100 at the bottom. It's upside down. That's because it's more intuitive to see a loss when it goes downwards rather than upwards. You'll also see has 0 here. This is not silence. This is simply the level of a hearing level that you should be able to hear quite quiet sounds quite well. You also see a bands here: average, mild, moderate, severe, profound. If your hearing test is in this area, your average, you don't need to do anything. If it's mild or moderate, you can certainly use this. Severe, you should be able to use it. Profound, well, you will have to go to a consultant. You also notice it says not calibrated up here. That is, as I explained, I've been unable to calibrate the scale effectively every single time. So for the moment, I've left that alone because the important point is the volume you require. Along here, you'll see the frequency. I'm using decibels hearing level, which was created by the various hearing aid companies, and all it means, if you go into the wonderful realm of psychoacoustics, it basically says that you hear different frequencies at different levels. And it looks like a curve, and by using this hearing level, we can flatten it out. So, for example, on this, if I put it down to 0, if you had 0 all along, you have perfect hearing. It's perfectly possible to have negative hearing, so all it means you have very good hearing. That's all it is. So let's do the test. Testing left ear at 125 Hertz, and all you do is change the volume. Remember the maximum volume you set earlier until you can just hear the tone. I'm putting it out quite loud at the moment. You should easily be able to hear it. Now I'm going to put it at a level where I can just hear it. If you've got good hearing, you are easily going to hear it. Just bear that in mind. Well, I set the volume earlier quite high, so that's why. Let's do the next test. About there. And as you can see, all we're doing is finding the the lowest volume that you can hear tones, and you just do go across. There are 16 per ear at half octaves. Now I'm just going to turn off my microphone and do this quickly so you can hear how this works. Okay, so I've just turned up the desktop audio so you can breathe a sigh of relief. I'm sure if you have average hearing, you probably heard all of the tones as it went through. This is my profile at that level. As you can see at this level, lower frequencies I'm okay, gradually mild to moderate, and touching on severe. If I chose a lower volume, this would probably approach the severe. Now we've done that, we'll quickly go on to where you can actually hear the difference. I'm just going to very quickly turn the volume down because it can be a bit loud. I'm going to play a piece of music. This is a piece of music that I can use on a public video. I chose it. I apologise for my choice, but it's basically there. It's very rhythmic, so that you can easily hear the difference. Just play a piece of it. Now, what you're listening. Oh, I should actually put the desktop audio back on again, shouldn't I? There we go. Let's try that again. This is before. Just going to pause it there. You can immediately see there's a difference. These are spectrum analyzers. This is the original without with no filter. This is after it's been filtered based on your results. As you can see, there's a change in how it looks. This is just lower frequencies at the moment. I'll just continue, and I'll switch over every now and then. You can hear the difference. Well, I'm sure you heard the difference there. You heard the higher frequencies being dramatically increased. For the last bit, I'd like to play to you a recording I've made of my wife when she was telling a story when she was a bus conductor in the old days, on the old route masters in London. The type where you could hop on and off even whilst you were still moving. It's an amusing story, but again, I'll randomly change so that you can hear the difference. Here we go.
So when I was a bus conductor on the buses, one of the drivers I was working with decided that he didn't want to pick up any passengers on the way back. So to call in a low service bus, he decided he would want to have a wee on the top deck and blame it on a passenger so that we couldn't pick anyone up. So he went upstairs and did a wee, and he got back in the bus and we drove off, not letting any passengers on because somebody had inconsiderately weed on the top deck, naming no names. So halfway back to the garage, I felt the bus pull over to the side and park up, and he came screaming round the side saying that he was drenched from head to foot in his own wee and his cigarettes had all been ruined.
And there you go. I hope you heard the difference. It does make a dramatic difference. And for the future, this is certainly going to be developed beyond final year project. This is just the first version. There will be plenty of other things that it will be able to do. And I hope you enjoy the presentation. And perhaps you might even like to try it. Many thanks for watching.